Well, I just got the news that Dr. Mario World is randomly shutting down in November, even though, ironically enough, that game just celebrated its 2 year anniversary like a few weeks ago. So, what's the deal with that? It seems to me, according to Twitter, that a lot of people do play the game and genuinely do like it. So, why is it shutting down? Well, it doesn't take a lot of common sense to figure out that Nintendo wasn't making a lot of money on the game, so that's the reason why they decided to axe it. So in November, Dr. Mario World shuts down, and you can't even play the game anymore, even if you have the app downloaded, because, well, the servers are gone. And that's the problem with always online game or live services. So once they go, then what do you do? Well, there's really nothing you can do. So even though it seems like Dr. Mario World had a high player base, either it's not as high as I think, or it is that high, but not a lot of them are spending money on the game. So when that happens, Nintendo gets rid of it because they don't feel like it's making that much of a profit, unlike Mario Kart Tour, so they get rid of it. It's very unfortunate, but that's the truth. Now, I'm not one that plays a lot of live service games, and the reason being is because when this shit shuts down, all of your progress is lost. So that means all of your time and even money are going to be all for nothing. And that is one of the biggest reasons why I'm very cautious to put any sort of money into these types of games. Now, I remember a while back saying that I put money in Pokemon Go, and well, let's face it, that game ain't dying anytime soon. But now we know when a live service doesn't make a lot of money, it could be shut down. But sometimes the opposite happens, and when a game makes too much money, it can have its own problems. Well, coming from personal experience, I know that Niantic likes to tweak things in their favor to make paying players get a little bit more out of it, and trying to persuade others to pay some other fees as well, like the whole Go Fest, for example, being only $5 instead of it being 15, and pretty much actively punished players who don't pay that $5, or the Kanto event's case, $12. I've already mentioned the whole thing with the loot box eggs and the rigged raids before, but I'll bring it up again for the sake of giving an example for this topic as well. It seems to me like some live services know how much you do spend and how much time you did put in the game, so sometimes there's a little bit of tweaks going on to make you spend a little bit more than what you should. Some people can tell me that the whole Rayquaza raid wasn't rigged and it was just really bad luck at the time for getting shinies, but let's face it, if the odds are 1 in 20 on average to get a shiny, why does it all of a sudden now take 1 in 55 to get one? Seems a little shady to me, just saying. But that's the thing with live services. Like, things can just change on a dime without you knowing it. They can be patch notes or bug fixes, but what exactly are they changing? It's very vague, and it just seems very shady to me sometimes. Not always the case. Niantic's one of the few cases, but it still can happen where, depending on how much money this game makes, Niantic could easily tweak things to make the paying players get more, so therefore they keep paying to get those advantages. The events speaks for everything. Those who don't pay for those events, you might as well not even play the event at all, because, let's face it, you're pretty much getting borderline nothing. Well, except for maybe advanced trading and, oh, some Pokemon appear, but shiny rates and extra catch boosters and whatever else with the tasks, and you get nothing pretty much. So of course, so you'd be like, fuck, I should have paid, and there you go, more people end up paying in the end. It seems to me when certain live services make too much money, then they get a little cheeky, and sometimes they'll serve shit on a platter, knowing that a lot of people who have already invested a lot of time and money into it will buy it anyway, just because, well, hey, I don't want my investment to go to waste, what's another 5, what's another 10, etc. It can happen. Now, the big question is it wise to invest time and or money into a live service? Well, the answer is not completely clear, but my advice is to always use caution and do your research before jumping into a game head first, because you never know what's going to happen in the future. Is the game not going to be that successful and shut down in a couple years like Dr. Mario World? Or is it going to go the other route like Pokemon Go, where The developers feel a little too comfortable with people spending money, so the only way to really get the full experience is to jump in the bandwagon with everybody else and invest a shitload of money. Now, there were a couple people in the comments section of my last video about Pokemon Unite saying, well, the developers or the game itself needs to make money somehow just so the game stays alive. And while I do agree with that, there is a limit as to how to make money off of certain players as well. My advice to you is always be cautious when playing a new game, especially if it's a mobile one or a live service. You have to keep in your mind that the service may not last forever, regardless of how popular it is. And any time or money you have invested when the server shut down will be all for nothing. It's not like Pokemon Sword or Shield where you buy the game and you put the cartridge in and that you have the game no matter what. I also remember that whole thing with Pokemon Duel with the Pokemon figurines. Yeah, remember that game where they tried to release an $18 a month subscription at one point? What happens to all the poor souls who invested into that and then 8 months later the servers go down? So all that money you spent on the subscription is literally for nothing. But at least with some free-to-play games or free-to-start games, at least you can have some fun at some point. I'm not really against anyone spending money on these types of games, but just beware that your purchase may not last forever. Now, if only we could tell this sort of thing to anyone who spends a boatload of money on FIFA Ultimate Team. You know that gets erased every year, right? And you have to start over and dump more money into it? Sometimes I just don't get people.